Hi, this is David with EV World News. We talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. It's Friday, and we're here to talk about stocks with Adib Khaldi from Simple Picks. How's it going, Adib?
Good. How are you, David?
Doing good. Glad you're here today. Let's see what we've got today. So, I had a viewer request for a stock we have not looked at before,
hmm
and this is NVVE. And believe this company is pronounced Nuvi Holdings, and they are an electrical bus maker.
Okay. NVVE.
And
Let us pull it up
in,
here. A second.
yep, they trade on the Nasdaq. And looking at them already, I smell short sale, naked short sale attack. I can see, I can see where this happened because this definitely happened. Oh my God. So oh, you know what? I think they had a 0 for 40 reverse or something like that. They had some whacked out numbers.
Oh,
Oh
it's
my
not good.
God. Well, I don't see them complaining. Yeah, it looks like a month ago they did a 1 for 40 reverse. That's just terrible. Which would explain why it shows that their stock was worth hundreds at one time, because if you multiplied it times 40 at one time, it looks like the stock was really probably $150 or something like that. And now it's under a buck,
Wow.
which tells me that they did this. Had the same thing as so many other of these companies we've seen that are in the EV space have had this happen.
Let us
Um,
pull it up here and take a quick look and see if and see if you're spot on or not.
I'm
NVVE.
yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the chart on Yahoo, so I'm not looking at
In depth.
on TradingView, but I'm just saying it's
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what I'm gonna say. That is another one of those ones that just I don't know what happened. I mean, they don't make any money. That's why. What were
yeah.
they? What does this company do?
They make school buses. I
Right.
think I
Oh,
think
this
they
is the
make
school
buses.
buses. Right. This is the school
Yeah.
buses.
So we're talking about. So before we came on the air, I was telling Adib about vehicle to grid, where basically the concept is if a large city, if all of their school district is running electric buses, then at night those same buses can power the grid from say 5 to 7 in the evening when the electrical grid is hit the hardest, and then it could recharge it later on in the night when wind energy is at its strongest and energy usage is at its um, lowest demand.
hmm
But it's just, what's it announces pricing? They had a $9.6 million underwritten public offering where they diluted their shares 16 days ago. Yeah, I see where their price has gone down. Um, Fresno, California transitioned to an EV fleet without taxing the power grid in a $16 million deal. That was 17 days ago.
hmm Why are their assets declining? You said they diluted, but that shouldn't. Let's take a look at
They
deeper.
don't look like school buses. They look like regular buses, like regular city buses.
hmm
But still, that's oh man, it's rough to look at a company like this. Obviously, I'm biased towards seeing companies in the EV
Well,
space do well,
I can see
and
maybe why. Yeah, I can see maybe why one of your viewers might have recommended this. It is at a turnaround stage in terms of
well,
the
they
way.
weren't recommending it. They weren't. They just wanted us to
Yeah,
get
look at it. No, I
us.
mean, like, I can see why they're looking at it now. It is improving, quarter over quarter here, in terms of, their incomes. Their cash flow also seems to be improving in terms of free cash flow. So
Mhm.
as you can see, they've been reducing their debt. Seems like, they had a lot more debt last year and the year before, so they're reducing that as well. In terms of a chart, On this one, David, we want to look at like a very longer term type of perspective.
Oh,
And
sorry, put you up on the screen. There you go.
yeah, and when I see when I see something like that's been just dabbled with this much, the integrity of this stock has just it's too much for me to kind of you know consider getting into for something that like to consider like it would ever go back to these type of prices. Now this chart could be skewed because I'm looking at trading view. It might have undergone multiple splits and reverses, etc. And truly it can have shareholder value right now. I mean the actual market cap on this stock is 3.84 million. They are negative in cash flows. Their balance sheet is declining, but it seems like they have assets equivalent to the $3 million or so. Um, it's
That's a
not a good,
ridiculously low market cap,
yeah,
though.
yeah. It's not at a good stage. And actually, just let's see what their inventory. I mean, like how many buses do they have?
I mean, what is that? For $400,000 stock purchase, you could have a seat on their board.
um, yes, that's right. That's correct. And And I mean, man, they cut down their debt tremendously. That is that what they why they diluted? I think you said that
Well,
was
that may be why they did that. Right now, it's bond prices are really high for corporate bonds, so it makes more sense that they would try to
well. I mean,
retire
look at the
some
book.
debt.
Yeah, the book value per share has just been plummeting this last year. And in terms of assets, sorry, that's what I came in here for. How do I look at this balance
I
sheet?
mean, you think about it, you could buy 100 shares for $90.
Yeah.
You know, it's not.
Sorry. So yeah, they're carrying cash, so that's a good thing. And that's probably why, yeah, that's where they diluted and raised more capital. Their inventory is at 6 million. I don't know what's compromised of the inventory. That is progress payments and other. Okay, don't know what that is. Do they not own the buses?
Well, they must have an inventory of buses,
They
but
just
they sell the
manufacture them.
buses.
They just manufacture them and sell them directly.
Well, it looks like I see them doing electric vehicles as a service, so that they probably do a lot of them where they simply do some kind of rental program.
Yeah, what's their other liabilities? Doesn't make sense. They got $14 million in other liabilities. I can't even see. Anyhow,
Well,
yeah, this is
they're
just more.
manufacturing in the U.S., so
Yeah,
they're going to have hard costs in developing that manufacturing. It's a tough road for EV makers. That's for sure. In the history of the United States, only two car companies have never filed bankruptcy that are out
Tesla.
there doing anything, and it's Tesla and Ford. And they're the only ones. And it's really weird. You think about you heard all the crap about the UAW going on strike and all that. Ford still turned a profit last year, a nice
Mm-hmm.
profit, like $5 billion. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's not that's not chump change. And somehow
Um,
Ford has figured some things out, even if they can't figure out the EV space. They're going to be the last ones to make the transition. But it's interesting to see how that plays.
yeah, agreed. Ford is. I feel like Ford has forever been an $11 stock.
Hmm.
Every time I look at them, they're $11.
Oh yeah, they
Swear
are.
to God. I mean, they did. This is crazy. Back in the type that the recovery of COVID, I guess they did go up to $22. Is this? Uh, yeah, yeah. They went up to $25, and they're a little over $12 right now. I mean, Ford's looking really good though. Ford's built to last, man. They're good. They're looking good. I
Yeah,
I,
it's
I just
interesting to
don't
see
I
where they
just don't
go.
see like these big moves in the company, but Ford is this is a good buy. If I'm a long-term investor here, I'm dabbling in Ford. Yeah, I'm buying a little bit of Ford. I think it's gonna come back up to the $15 mark. Uh, I heard something that they recently decided to cut their EV. They decided to cut their EV division. Is that right, Ford? Because it
No,
wasn't making
what
them
they
any
did
money.
was they cut down on the amount of people working on the F-150 Lightning. So they've
Mm,
swapped 1,400 workers at one of their facilities from working on the Lightning to working on the Ford Bronco and Ford Ranger,
gotcha.
which they haven't really done real well with Lightning sales. And my understanding is they lose about $30,000 on, or they were losing as much as $30,000 on each of the trucks they were selling, even though they were selling them for like $80,000.
Wow, interesting. Well, here we are. We're looking at Tesla.
Mhm.
Tesla's is it did what we said it was going to do last week. We said this is around the really good time to start buying in, but there is a potential that Tesla does see the low 160s. That would be the extreme, 150s, 160s of I would say discounted entry point based on our analysis here. Tesla did what it wanted to do. So as of last week, we got this beautiful big buy up as we
Mhm.
predicted from 175 zone since you and I spoke, I think, or 180 maybe up to the $200 mark right now.
Yep.
Where would I, what would I do with Tesla right here? I would just hold it in place. This is, I'm indifferent on Tesla here. I can't predict it. So I don't think it's just about the time for it to go up more. It may go up a little bit more, but I think it's just going to hold this area here for the next couple of weeks. Personally, I can't get a good reading on it unless I trade it more short term, and I'm not interested in usually trading anything short term. Usually we like to take positions for at least a week on end or so. So has it respected the parameters that we've drawn here with this resistance line and this resistance line? Yes, it has. So the next, as it's coming up on this resistance line of $204, as you can see, we're indifferent. We don't really know where to go on the stock, but we know that it held above the $160 and bounced off that 170 mark, 180 mark, up to the 204. Where do we see it going back now? Again, I just let it be. So for this week, I have no prediction for Tesla. I would probably reckon that it will stay in the range of $185 to $200. I don't think it'll go higher or lower.
Okay. Um, let's see, what's our next one today? And a lot of these are probably gonna. It always seems that they kind of match up with how Tesla is planned. Let's
Pretty
look
much.
at Rivian today. RIVN.
We're really the same exact thing, but on a small scale. The bump that came in since last week, as you guys can see, we drew the same exact two lines, for the ones we did with Tesla. We did it with Rivian. They bounced off those same two lines. I think Rivian has a little bit more room to go up to the $17 mark here, but it will probably, come down to the point of, is it going to face rejection or not? And on our first go on Rivian, it was 16 bucks. It went up all the way to $24, guys. That's a monstrous gain. Nearly 100% gain. That's a 50% gain, a little bit more. And prediction came true, but we got out back down now to the $15 mark where we like it around here on these, you know, on this resistance line that we've drawn out. So where do we see that it's going to try to go to again? Hopefully it breaks through the $17 resistance and goes back higher to the upper ranges. Am I betting on that? No, I'm not, because again, I just don't see the action here. There's just not enough volume that I can see that's increasing. Week over week, we're getting less volume. So I think they're just going to hold it in place until some bigger catalyst, maybe in the EV world in general.
All right. Yeah, it seems like this one's kind of stuck here at 16 for a while. But
Yeah.
like you said before, it looks like it's probably, may have bottomed out here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of them do look like they've bottomed out. Again, these big lines that I'm drawing that are resistance lines, as you can see, Lucid fell out of that line. And, at this point, I couldn't really give a good reading. I said, this is unprecedented. it's a matter of now if you want to buy the stock, do you believe in them or not? Because you've never seen this price before. So I can't really technically chart it. Now you got to fundamentally maybe look at it. But what I did mention is that it looks good. It looks good. So as you can see, it was a monstrous buy since we said that. Maybe one of our viewers or hopefully one of our back end guys can help us clip that view. But $2.50. Now we're up to almost $4, guys. The move is done for me again on Lucid. I just don't see much more beyond this break of this resistance point that we've drawn. But what I like is that it's held it for the week as today's Friday. So yeah, I do want to just see Lucid hold this zone and hopefully come back up to test the $5 mark here. Where of course, when we first got on the show, we caught at around $3.20 or so, $3.40, and we rode it all the way up to $5, guys. So no, I apologize. It was at around $4.15 when we got on your show towards the end of November and rode it all the way up to $5 and a half. So yeah, here we are again, back on the upwards trajectory. Do we buy? No. Do we watch? Yes. The time to buy was probably last week and the week before when we mentioned that it's at extreme points. So if you missed the train, guys, as did I. I didn't buy aggressively, so it's okay. We're in the same boat, but we're watching.
All right. It's not really a whole lot higher than those lows, other than, you know, when it had dropped down to two, it's a dollar higher,
Exactly.
260.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying is that, sometimes you can take, very much advantage of certain situations, but on a longer term trajectory, like Lucid looks the best to me because of probably the price attractiveness of how low it is and how easily investors can get in to a auto, EV maker. And I think a lot of people look at that sometimes when it comes down to the market. So hopefully it's seen the worst with this little bump here that we saw last week. And hey, we called it on your show. This might have been the lowest the stock ever goes. We don't know.
Let's hope. All right. Let's see. We looked a little bit at Li Auto last week, just LI on the New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah, Liotto. I liked Liotto, didn't I? I said that it may go down just a little bit, but ultimately it should go up. It seems like that is still moving as we kind of drew it out. So we drew it out around here. I said that it might come down here, but ultimately it will end up higher. Still seems to be within this cup. And anything above, like I said, I remember $26 to $27. I like this stock. Anything below, I wouldn't buy it. Now, would I enter here? Again, I will reiterate. I reckon that probably last week or the week before I said I would not enter here. I still would not enter here. So I would wait on Li Auto personally, but I do like the upwards trajectory. The chart is just not what I'm looking for. And they do have earnings coming up here on the 26th of February. So, probably the earnings are looking good because people have bought it up since we last looked at it. It was around $30 when you and I looked at it. I said that I would be interested at $27. I wouldn't be interested around $30. Clearly, the market felt a little bit differently than I did. So they brought it down to $29, but some buyers came in. And today, we're sitting at, $31 here, but on a down candle. It opened the day at around 32.50, so much higher than where we looked at it, obviously. And but it couldn't maintain this. Sorry, I apologize. It couldn't maintain this trajectory, as you could see, since when you and I looked at it. If we wanted to continue something like a long upward trajectory, it would have kind of rode that trend line, on a daily
Okay.
balance. But what happened today is it closed at the bottom of it. So as long as on Monday it doesn't start trading around here, there's a
Mhm.
high probability that the earnings are going to be really good and that we can maybe take advantage of this stock by buying it just before earnings while it's still riding this upward trajectory, that it might go up to a whole new zone to test, the $40 range back where it was in December. And that's very possible because that was only about a month ago. So
Right.
when we analyze stocks, like, we like to look at the psychology of the factors of what's leading up to certain events. And earnings is a monstrous event, usually makes or breaks certain quarters, right, in terms of price. So yeah, I mean, Liato, I'm not going to action anything on it, but David, this is an interesting one to watch just to see the integrity of how our charting tools and systems and tech or ability to read this price action comes to light or not. And sometimes, if you're not really a big follower of the stock, you don't really want to take a big risk based on the fact that it's not a clear picture. So I like to put this out there and see, hopefully in our next show, which will be next Friday, that'll be just before Li Auto does their earnings on the 26th. So we'd stand to see what happened the following week, hopefully based on the chart.
Be interesting to see what sentiment is on the stock right before earnings.
Yeah, agree.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and look at Greenland, GTEC.
Greenland, GTEC, how they doing? Oh, nice. Nicely done.
So they have some interesting news.
Nicely done, GTEC. Great buy.
Where are we at? 366. That's big from the
No,
low
they did
low
an
twos.
awesome job last week. Whatever we said on their show helped.
Well, they've announced they're doing a dividend spinoff. They're going to spin off part of their company,
Oh,
and
yeah?
I can't remember which part it
Here it is.
was.
Yeah, here it is.
Um, yeah, oh, the drivetrains.
Yep.
So they make they make the electric heavy equipment, but they also make drivetrains and transmissions for tractors, both I assume the gas and diesel as well as electric. And so they've got a fairly large manufacturing facility in China where they manufacture those. So it's kind of interesting that they're going to spin that part off, and it looks like they're just going to keep the heavy equipment piece here in this. That's part of Greenland Tech.
Hmm. Well, that was a bump. That was the bump we were looking for. I think they're pretty overextended right now. And I think they released this news a little too early. But let's hope the momentum continues higher. I like this chart. This buy right here solidifies the uptrend for me on Green Tech if they're gonna make a move for it this year. This
Mhm.
would be the one. So good week for Green Tech and you know all their stakeholders. Very good week.
Yeah. So it says their PE ratio is 28, but if you recall when we had them on the show, they were turning like a 6% EBITDA. So they were turning pretty good numbers. Then I
Well,
don't think it was such that, and
they're
maybe this is PE ratio compared to their most recent quarter or
they're
something.
up 26% year to date.
Well, that they're doing good. They're doing good. All right. Do you want to look at SPY?
I do. I'd rather not, but I do. I mean, I'd rather I
You're not happy
you
about
know,
SPY right now?
I mean, it's not about happy. It's just about what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, and um, some stuff just doesn't make sense. So, I'm getting ready to flip bullish on, sorry, bearish on the market here. So I'm ready to start taking my short positions on the market. But that is something that I don't really want to discuss in great detail because this is a long-term plan when you're considering shorting the greatest market in the world.
Mhm.
Uh, oftentimes you might lose your shirt, but back in October of 21, we were
Mhm.
successful in predicting it, getting over 1,000 points on the S&P 500 in decline. So I am a person who's caught tops before. I do see a top here on the S&P 500, but I don't have enough data right now to start undertaking my short positions. But very soon, I think this 500 mark cap, like the 5,000 mark on the S&P 500 is essentially what's going to is essentially what marks the top of our market for this whole year, whereas the presidential, elections are going to be leading up to kind of probably a midpoint in the market. And maybe we will stand to clip this message again. My last message was a text message, and certain followers followed it, and we took advantage of it. But this one's a video recording. So my predictions for the S&P around middle of the year are around $4,500. I would say maybe we might even go down to $4,200. But the recent actions that we've seen here back in October of 23, which were the spring of this uptrend here in the S&P around 4,000 or 4,100 is where the big buy came in. We called that play. Okay, we we predicted that play. We were in that play, but we did not think it was going to go above 4,500. Okay, so since 4,500 till today, I have been majority sidelined in terms of trading the index itself, and here I am today. And I've been watching it lately, trying to get my short entry to see it somewhere around there. So
Okay. All right. Well, I think we're good today, Adib. I
yes,
appreciate you
sir.
coming on the show today.
Of
And
course,
it's always interesting to track this week to week. You've been very spot
yes, sir.
on your predictions, and that's been great to have.
Yes, sir.
And folks, if you watch this and you've got a stock you'd like us to, review, please leave us a comment and tune in next week. Other than that, I'm going to go ahead and